Last time I had a real job was a little over 20 years ago. I grew up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and these 4 Italian brothers from New Jersey moved to Wyoming and opened up a pizza parlor. Now, I'm not saying witness protection, but I'm not really sure why we had 16 video cameras, a shotgun in the freezer, and cocaine as a topping, but that is how we did business at Parkway Pizza. So I worked there for like 3 months, and every Sunday their little Italian father would come in these incredible suits, and I was convinced that he was like the head of the mafia. And I remember my high school guidance counselor telling me, Brandt, you can do anything you put your mind to. So I was like, that's it, I'm joining the Italian mob. So I watched every mafia movie, I read every mafia book, and I waited for them to invite me into the mob. But then they fired me because they were fucking assholes, or I was late. It doesn't really matter for this part of the story. But I got fired. So I got a job at the store next door, a place called Sports Fan. I worked my ass off there every day for 3 months, and my manager there was just a dickhead. So after 3 months of him just treating me like shit, I realized I was going to take all this mafia knowledge and start what I'll call the MALL-fia. So here's how the MALL-fia worked. If you worked at the taco place, you give me tacos, I give you a hat. You work at Foot Locker, you give me shoes, I give you a jersey. You work at Sears, you give me a TV, I give you whatever the fuck you want. And after about 3 months, I had the MALL-fia running so strong that I could get anything in the mall for free, except for puppies and jewelry. And these Mormons own this cinnamon roll place, but whatever, they were shitty. I didn't want them anyway. But I would walk around the mall like Tony Soprano or like John Gotti, and everybody just treated me with respect, and I loved being the Godfather of the mall. But I'll never forget, my managers at Sports Fan, they set me down, it was December 20th, and they said, Brandt, we know you've been giving away all our stuff, so you're fired. But you're not technically fired till December 27th, because we don't have time to hire somebody for the Christmas rush and to do the returns after Christmas. And in my head, all I could think was, holy shit, everybody I know is gonna have the best Christmas ever. But then December 27th came and I got fired, and I had to go back to real life. It's hard to go back to real life after you run in the MALL-fia. So I knew I had to get back in, so I ended up getting a job. My buddy worked at Dillard's, this huge department store that has no business in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I get a job in Dillard's, and they put me in the Ralph Lauren polo section. And we had a $3,000 quota that we were supposed to meet every single day. But I wasn't selling anything, because like a polo shirt is like $85, and there was a Target like 50 yards away selling the same shirt for like $12. So after about 2 months, the manager at Dillard's, he started being a dickhead, so I convinced the 8 people that worked with me in the men's department to join my MALL-fia. So now we took it to a whole nother level. We had houseware and furniture, and now I could get anything in town for free, and it was awesome. Everybody just treated me like the king. And it was easy to rob Dillard's because there was no cameras. There was just one Cheyenne Police Department officer that would patrol the store. But when you're a cop, that's like a shitty job. So he'd show up late or take like 2-hour lunches and just stay at the front of the store, try to fuck the makeup chicks. So I put in hand signals for my team so they knew when they could hook everybody up. So now we're hooking everybody up in town. You know, I'm a kid. I probably had $900 to my name and like a $30,000 wardrobe. Like I looked incredible. And everything was running smooth till one day this random dude just showed up at Dillard's and he started walking around the store for like 2 hours. And my MALL-fia instincts told me something was wrong. So I gave the signal to my team, shut down the whole operation. And sure enough, about 20 minutes later, over the loudspeaker, I just heard, Brandt Tobler, please report to the office. Brandt Tobler, please report to the office. And I didn't know what to do. You know, part of me was like, I should just run out the store and leave forever. But the other part of me was like, fuck that, I'm a mob boss. I can't leave my soldiers. So I put my head up high and I walked down to the office. And when I got to the office, they took me in this big conference room I didn't even know exist. There's just a huge table in the middle, and there's 5 chairs on this side and 1 seat on this side. So I sit on this side. In comes the head of the store, head of the men's department, head of the women's department, the Cheyenne Police Department officer, and the guy that had been walking around the store all morning that they introduced as Marcus, the head of loss prevention, who had flown in all the way from Arkansas just to meet the Godfather. So needless to say, I was flattered, right? So we sit down, and the head of the store is like an old white, like principal type dude, and he just starts doing this thing. Just tell us the truth, we'll go easy on you. If you just tell us the truth, we'll go easy on you. And I just kept going, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, just tell us the truth, we'll go easy on you. But what he didn't know was I was built for this moment. Because when I was 5 years old, my dad went away to college. Well, that's what my mom called it. You guys would call it prison, of course. And my dad would get out every couple of years on spring break. And my dad taught me one thing in life, and that's you never snitch no matter what. He'd always say, Brandt, you never snitch no matter what. He said, you only open your mouth if you're in a dentist chair. So I was trained not to snitch, so the guy just kept going, just tell us the truth, we'll go easy on. I just kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. So then the head of the men's department goes, well, we saw your girlfriend walk out of here with 2 bags full of stuff the other day. And I was like, well, why didn't you arrest her then? Why didn't you arrest her? And they just looked at each other like dumbasses, and I was like, yeah, I got this shit. But they had one more trick up their sleeve, because when you worked at Dillard's, if you sold something, you're supposed to send a thank you letter to the customer. But I wasn't selling anything, so I was just sending all those letters to my best friend Chance, who was in the Navy. And I just assumed he wasn't writing back because he was defending our country, right? So when they pulled these 5 letters out, I start giggling, because I'm 19 years old, I had just started getting laid. And these are the most graphic sexual letters of all time, because Chance is a dude I looked up to, and I needed his advice. So when I see these 5 letters, I start giggling, and the head of loss prevention sees me giggling, and he stands up and he pounds on the table as hard as he can. He goes, hey kid, this is some kind of fucking joke. We just did inventory, and we are off $600,000. And I was like, holy shit. My dad would be so proud of me right now. But like I said, I just knew what was on those letters, and I was an idiot kid, and I had this crazy conspiracy theory because growing up, I had never had a cavity until I started eating pussy. So it was just me asking Chance, like, Chance, am I doing it wrong? Or are Mexican girls like piñatas? Is there candy in there? Like, why am I getting cavities? So it just made me laugh to think that they had to read all that. But the only mistake I made was on every letterhead, the word Dillard was imprinted on there. And on one of the letters I wrote, I am robbing, and the word Dillard was there, blind. I have so much stuff for you when you come home. So like, what is this? What is this right here? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, it says you're robbing Dillard's blind. I was like, well, I didn't write Dillard's. It just happened to be there. So I tried to tell them I was talking about something else, but they knew I was lying. So we banter back and forth for a little bit. And I finally am like, fuck it, I just got to take a stand. So I stand up and I put my hands behind my back. I'm like, that's it, guys, I'm done talking. Fire me or arrest me. They're like, no, sit down, we're not done. I'm like, I'm done, fire me or arrest me. So the head of the store looks at the cop, and the cop's like, come on, let's go outside. And they all 5 go outside, and they leave me alone in in the big conference room. And I was scared to death. I remember my legs just shaking under the table. I'm 19 years old. I've never been in trouble in my life. And all I could think was my buddy Matt, about a month before, had stole like $500 worth of CDs from Disc Jockey, and he got a felony. So I was thinking, $600,000? I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. I'm never going to get another cavity. But then after about 15 minutes, the head of the store and the cop comes back in, and the head of the store, he's bright red. I could tell he's pissed off, and he just says, he sits down, he says, Mr. Tobler, just so you know, you're fired, and you're never allowed in another Dillard's again. And he slid me this piece of paper, and I had to sign that I was fired. And what they got me for was mail fraud. They got me, I was fired for sending personal letters on company stationery. So I sign it, and I slide it back to him. And I stand up, and I put my hands behind my back, ready to go to jail. And the cop's like, we're not taking you to jail. We're just going to walk you off property. And in that moment, I realized, holy shit, I just beat a fucking $600,000 inventory rap. I am a fucking mob boss. And the best part about it was they could have just walked me out the employee parking, which was like 50 yards away. But instead, they all 5 walked me on this lap around the store, which I think they thought would be embarrassing, but it was the greatest fucking victory lap of my entire life. And when I got to the front doors, I was like, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to work here. And they didn't say one word. And I walked out, and I got in my car, and I drove off, and I never went to Dillard's again. But I didn't have to, because my buddy Casey got a job there 2 weeks later, and we started the whole fucking operation over again. But yeah, I got lucky. I could have been in college with my dad.